So I was born on May 22nd, 1957 in Orange, in the city of Orange, in county of Orange in California. My name given me was Brent Harmon Scoville. Brent, as far as I know, didn't have any significance other than they liked the name. I think they were looking at some other names, but they settled on Brent. Harmon is my father's first name. So I received my father's first name. And then my older brother got my mother's maiden name, Davis, and my younger brother got my father's middle name and also his mother's maiden name, Grosbeck. But I got Harmon. I mean, going back to being little and stuff like that, I don't remember a whole lot. I do remember though, when we lived in Garden Grove till I was in 4th grade, and then we moved to Westminster. And during the time we lived in Garden Grove, across the street was Gary and Jeff Ahmet. Gary was like a year older than me, and Jeff was like a year younger than me. And he was good friends. And then if you walked out my door and turned left, the house to the left of us was Richard Collins, and he was my age. And we'd get together and we'd play on the street and things like that. But one of the funnest things was Gary and Jeff one time came to my door and delivered me a draft notice and said I was drafted into the Army. And we were playing.
How old were you?
I would have been younger than 8 at the time, because we moved when I was in 4th grade, and I don't remember, was I 6, 7, 8, whatever. But I imagine I was at least 5 or 6 or something like that, at least. But it was just really fun because I opened it up, and I probably was old enough to read, so I probably was at least 6 or 7. And it says, you're drafted, report, and anyway, so then, I had my Army helmet and I had my Army rifle, and I'd go across the street and we'd play. I just remember having really a great childhood. All right, so let me introduce a friend of mine. Hey, let me out of here. Who said that? Let me out of here. Oh, look who's in here. Mr. What's your name? Aloysius. So this is my friend Aloysius. Hi, how you doing? We've been together for a while. Yeah, a little bit. We like to perform in front of the grandkids mostly. That's probably the people that we've done the most for. Yeah, that's right. They're the nicest. And then we have done a couple of times, like Halloween, when you do the trunk and treat, I would take him to that and sit by the car, and kids come by, and some of them would be really scared and other kids thought it was cool. And then on the last Halloween, I sat at the door when they rang the doorbell. Aloysius and I handed out candy, and Yeah, that was fun. We got some crazy responses. Yeah.
But has my dad ever tried to feed you anything?
No, the grandkids have. They want to eat, they want me to eat their fingers. I don't care for that. Oh. Yeah. Aye, aye, Nadine, let's go.
Did you have a nickname?
There was a TV series called Flipper about a porpoise, and or a dolphin, whichever one you want to say. Anyway, and so the song would be they call him Flipper. Anyway, so sometimes I'd get people that say, like, hey Flipper, or something.
Oh, yeah.
So I learned how to swim when I was 3, and we had a swimming pool at our home, and we used to swim all the time, and it was fun to swim. And then when I was in 5th grade, I got on a swim team. My mom signed me up for swimming at a place called Aqua Club, and I'd swim with Richard Collins, and he and I would swim. And then his mom would take us to a swim meet called Blue Boy. The cool thing was they gave ribbons for 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And then if you won your heat, you got a ribbon. And if you were the most improved, you got a ribbon. But what was fun is, like, if you got 25 ribbons, you got a trophy. You got 50 ribbons, you got another trophy. You got 75 ribbons, you got another trophy. You get 100 ribbons, you get another trophy. And each trophy got bigger and bigger. And so Richard and I we were kind of competing against each other. He'd beat me in freestyle, I'd beat him in backstroke, and then he'd beat me in back, and I beat him in free, and we just kind of go back and forth. But I kept those ties, which was kind of fun. And so Richard and I, we remained close during that time. And when I went into high school, I lettered varsity my freshman year, and so all 4 years of high school, I swam varsity. And then because I swam, I also did water polo. Through the years, I've swam a lot, and I've competed and things like that, and that's brought me joy, being able to do that, stay physically fit. Friday nights was kind of like our night to stay home and watch TV shows. And I remember watching movies or like shows that were like weekly shows, from like Get Smart to I Spy, Bonanza, and Man from U.N.C.L.E., and which was kind of a spy movie. Watching movies and acting them out and things like that was, kind of my childhood.